Hello. Cool. So welcome to season 2 of the Breakthrough podcast, Humans of Breakthrough.
Wow, let me just do it.
Where do you want to
All right. Hello, guys. We're excited to be back with season 2 of the Humans of Breakthrough podcast. Now, we have a very special guest with us here today, someone who's done our boot camps. But first, let us introduce ourselves, just in case you're joining us for your first episode. My name's Sobanan. I am the CEO at Breakthrough Social Enterprise, and I'm here with
Pratik. I manage all the operations and delivery at Breakthrough Social Enterprise, and we've got a very special guest. Go on, introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alfie. I'm an incoming tech degree apprentice at Accenture. Thank you, Sobanan and Pratik, for having me on today.
No worries. Thank you for being here. Alfie, let's just quickly start off, how your childhood, your background.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So I had a very interesting childhood, a childhood that was different from many people. So when I was born, my mum was sectioned. She went to the hospital. Mum suffered quite severe mental health issues. And then throughout my childhood, social services basically wanted to put me into care. My mum fought for me and decided for me not to go into care. And social services said that if they had an active input within my upbringing, that I could stay at home. Fortunately, when I was 15, that relationship really broke down between me and my mum, a few personal issues. And then what happened was I ended up sleeping homeless. I was in cars for a little bit, and it was like a really difficult time. And I was in a much different mind space and mindset to where I am now. And then after 15, went into a hostel, and then did my A-levels, didn't do that well, missed my uni offer, took 2 gap years, and now I'm here as a tech degree apprentice.
Nice, man. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
That sounds like a real roller coaster. How did it feel saying that all back? Because that's just
So I think I've got used to sharing my experiences, but initially when I used to do it, it's quite trauma-inducing. Because I think, and many people relate to this, when you go through difficult things, the way people deal with it is usually by burying it.
Yeah.
And that was what I did. And then so saying it makes you relive those memories. But now I think I've just got more comfortable saying it just through repetition, really. But yeah.
Big up you, man.
Cheers,
honestly, to get through all that, honestly, big up you.
Yeah, to get through all of that, and now to do what you're about to do, the degree apprenticeship in a multinational company. What do you think is the top 3 things that have got you from there to where you are now?
Right, that's a big question. Put me on the spot. So the top 3 things. Firstly, what comes to mind is self-belief, man. And I know this is a lot of people say this, but especially where I'm coming from, you can feel a certain way and personalize issues that happen to you. So you may think it's your fault. You may think it's your fault that your dad's not around, or you're born in a council estate, or your mum's going through different issues and you're witnessing all this trauma and you're thinking you're the problem because you're the common denominator in all of these issues. And the more I grew up, and I've just realized I'm a G, bro. Do you get me? Man's just built different, and the reason that I'm going through these situations is because I'm built to handle it. And what I'd say to people at home is, no matter what you're going through, know that you're a G. You can get through this. Serious, you a man can get through this. And that was a real self-belief that I have now, where I don't really feel nervous doing things. I've been interviewed by the BBC, got interviewed by Cambridge University, gone to these different big organizations. I even went to Accenture, went to their big office. I'm not feeling shook. I'll be honest. I wasn't nervous because I've been through real stuff, and I know people at home have been through real stuff. Getting an interview, talking with these people, it doesn't compare to what I've been through. Do you want me to say the other 2 things, or just stick on that?
Go for it. Mindset's one.
Yeah, mindset's
self-belief.
One. Secondly, I think a big thing that, and I've really shifted it within the last few months, is being a producer on social media, not being a consumer. I think social media addiction isn't seen the same way as cocaine addiction or weed addiction. And I personally think social media is a drug, which is the same, which is in the same category as all these Class A's, and even in the same category as junk food and all these sugary foods as well. And that's one thing that I really prioritize, is being a producer on social media. Got my own TikTok, hopefully doing work with Breakthrough, with this podcast, and using social media to further my goals rather than letting social media use me. That's the second thing. And the third thing I think is prioritizing mental and physical health. For me, mental and physical health are really intrinsically linked. When I feel healthy is when I'm eating healthy, I'm in the gym, but also when my mind space is clear and I'm doing what I feel I'm passionate about and what I feel I'm making an impact. Like for me, fulfillment is a really big thing. And just a side point, I used to confuse happiness with pleasure.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, you go to a party or you chat to this girl, you know, you do the things that you're doing when you're young and you think that's happiness, but you realize it's pleasure because the day after you feel like shit. Yeah, you feel like shit. And then what I realized is fulfillment is where you want to be. That's the goal, where you feel like you're doing something, because that's long lasting. That's long lasting happiness, I guess, or long lasting pleasure. Fulfillment is where you feel healthy, and that's what contributes to good mental health as well.
Yeah, that's fair. What's like the impact you'd want to have? Like if you were to say, for example, someone was writing your obituary when you're dead.
Yeah.
What would you want them to say in it?
So I think like I used to live in Egypt for 1 year after I turned 19, and I witnessed a lot of poverty, like crazy poverty. I lived in like the poorest parts of Egypt. My rent was like £50 a month, and I was in like the big boy flats. I was in the luxury things. You get me, under the whole balcony and that. But like my bin man was a guy on a donkey, like carrying you get me, like it was peak out here. And then I remember I saw this family that was across the road, and she was pregnant, and it was winter, and it was really cold. In Egypt, it's a desert, so in winter it's really cold, and they didn't have no walls, so they used a bed sheet. And they had like 3 children, pregnant mum and the dad. And I'm sitting there thinking, for me, £50 isn't peak.
Yeah.
Like coming now, what's on minimum wage? What you getting, like £80 a day, £100 a day? I don't know what you get.
£8, 20 times 8.
When I was delivering leaflets, I was getting like £80 a day.
Yeah.
That could cover their whole rent for the month.
Yeah,
and so it's made me really passionate about increasing the standard of living for the poorest people within society. Is the question what my passion is?
Yeah, or no, what impact do you want to have?
What impact I want to have is improving the standard of living for the poorest people within society, and really making like free access to education, free access to healthcare, which I know you're passionate about.
Yeah.
To all these different people, and giving them opportunities to grow, and not just to survive, but to live a fruitful life and really thrive.
Yeah, 100%.
How did you end up in Egypt?
Long story short, fam, I went through like an existential crisis, bro. Like, you know, you're thinking like, well, what's the purpose of life?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing here? And long story short, I thought, you know what, yeah, let me become an imam, innit? That was really like, let me become an imam.
Hey, that's
I want to be banging, like, obviously, I'm not the most religious guy now, like, don't cancel me and that, innit? So I went to Egypt, try to learn Arabic. That language is fucking hard. Like, that's hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I flew out there. My boy was there. So I flew out with him. Bro, it was live, innit? It's like you were there with your boys, and I didn't really capitalize it on like how I should. Yeah. But the main thing that I got was insight into like what life is like in a third world country, and also like the blessings that I have. Although I came from a very working class background, like I was in like a very poor background, I still had blessings. Like I had a roof over my head. I had heating to some degree. You know, like I had clothes. I never worried if there was dinner.
Yeah.
It was just like whether like my mum sometimes wouldn't eat, but I would eat all the time. I had shoes. Like nobody, like back in Egypt, if you have shoes, they get robbed.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. Like if you get raw shoes, so like I had trainers. Like that's a big blessing. The roads are paved. You know, there's a pavement.
Yeah.
Like that's a big blessing. Like simple things like that. You can carry bags into the supermarket. There you can't do that. They take it. And the corruption is a big thing there. But I don't know who's watching, so I don't want to anger anybody.
No, that's mad. No, honestly, it's quite interesting because I feel like I live in the tension between wanting to drop out of life and become a monk or in a monastery, and then the other side, which is like running companies or being
that's me. Like that's the same thing. Obviously, now I'm on the other side where I want to run the companies. But I used to be like, want to drop out, quit the game of capitalism.
Yeah, I hear
but
it.
Then you realize money talks, I guess.
Yeah. There was that podcaster that says that I think Healthy Gamer OG or something, he wanted to become a monk, and then monks told him, wait a minute. Right now you're not giving anything up to become a monk. It could be another form of escapism. Try it when you're on top of the world, when you have to give up that penthouse, when you have to give up the nice cars and all of these things. So
Because it seems like the easy option now.
Yeah.
Because
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
remember, like what we were talking about before. It's harder now to play the game of capitalism.
Yeah.
100%.
Than maybe potentially it is of becoming a monk. You know.
Yeah, without doubt.
Yeah.
Less stress. That's what jail was like. Literally, it's less stress than being out in normal life, right? But I guess the next question is, what was your experience in the Breakthrough Bootcamp and sort of what you learned on it?
Yeah.
And give us some real honest and raw feedback.
So I like, you know, obviously I know these two are here from Breakthrough, but no cap. Honestly, Breakthrough was sick. Like Breakthrough was a great program, one of a kind. I've been on bare programs, and honestly, nothing compares to it. There's a few reasons, but firstly, I'll talk about my mindset. I was really hungry to learn about technology. I went into like a previous work experience and I saw these big boy offices and I saw how much you can earn with tech, and then I saw the impact you can have with tech, and I really wanted to be a part of that movement and part of that change. Breakthrough was a perfect piece in that puzzle for me. So joining Breakthrough, what my experience was like, firstly, there was a very comprehensive curriculum. Went through all the different areas of technology. So like we did blockchain, we did metaverse, but also we were linked in with like actual industry experts, like proper industry experts, not just like tokenized, not a tokenized word. So I'll give you an example. We met the head of AI at CGI, which was Russell Goodenough, yeah. And then we met people from IBM, and then I had got an interview through Breakthrough for a degree apprenticeship from DXC, which I thankfully got. And Breakthrough, it's not a course, it's a movement. Like genuinely, it's a movement. It's a movement of empowering people, empowering underserved communities, and realizing that tech is for everyone, not just a privileged few. And that was a real motif within the course, is that no matter where you come from, what your background is, what your education is, it matters about what you can do. Like we live in a skills-based economy, and that's what is so important. And it was like a real mindset shift, resources. I mean, like I'm not one to exaggerate, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm exaggerating, but I genuinely couldn't fault the course. I couldn't fault it at all. Like I had mentors as well every week. It was like one of a kind, and after you come out of it, you kind of miss it because you're in that bubble of Breakthrough. You come out and you're like, shit, what am I supposed to do now? You know what I mean? But the after program support is sick. I've had mentoring calls with my mentor, also with Pratik. Start doing work. Hopefully start doing work with Breakthrough. Honestly, it's been great, and I encourage all of you to apply.
I'm glad, thank you. And Sobanan, it's something that you always say. The type of economy that we're in right now, it's the first time where a kid in India, if he has time, willingness to learn, and an internet connection, can make an app, scale it, and build potential economic wealth for his family in ways that previous generations could never. And I'm glad that philosophy came through in the course, that is skills-based. As long as you have, a willingness to learn, willingness to put in time, an internet connection, you can do anything, regardless of all this AI. I wouldn't call it fear-mongering. I think it's right that it's going to change the world, but irrespective of that, there's still a chance.
If you think we're capping, join the course. I swear to God. And then genuinely, because it's like they tell you this, but then they tell you how. Like, what resources can you do? Examples of other people. And that was really important to me, because I'm not someone to just follow baseless claims. I'm someone that follows evidence. And that's what Breakthrough really bring. They really evidenced their points.
It's interesting because I always think because you say that you couldn't fault it, right? And I feel like I can find 100 faults in a course, right? And I think it's interesting. And I guess it's like a combination of like me being hard on us as an organization, but also just like, how do you think we could scale up what we do? Because like, say for example, now our boot camps are stuck to primarily UK based with the East African cohort, but also like it relies on you having to attend and engage, right?
Exactly,
so like, how would you advise, like if you were, say for example, you're advising me, right?
So
how would you create access for people across the world, like working class communities in Egypt, all the way to South Africa, all the way to India, right? What ideas or thoughts do you have?
That's like a proper ambitious goal, and that's a goal that I really resonate with, honestly. I think a boot camp with those communities would literally transform the world. Firstly, recruitment is going to be your biggest driver. Like the people behind the program are the people behind the success. And I think matching people who are passionate as you is going to be the most important thing. How do you identify that? That would be, I'd throw that back to you. Like in the past, what has made you hire the people that you've hired, because clearly it's been successful. And I think you just need to really dial into that and make sure that extends to those programs globally. Second thing, I think, and this is maybe on a personal note, but like I come from similar backgrounds to Sobanan and Pratik, so it resonated more with me. Now, if I was to do it for working class community in Egypt, maybe you wouldn't have a lot in common. Yeah. And I think that being able to relate to the person you're speaking to and genuinely relate to them, not just, we're from working class communities, therefore we're the same. Yeah. It's like, you grew up in a council estate. Yeah, I grew up in a council estate. You had bailiffs at your door. Yeah, I had bailiffs at my door. You grew up in a single parent household. Yeah, I grew up in a single parent house. Like really understanding their context and matching people who come from that context, I think is the second most important thing. But I think you can do a lot of great work. And I think just making sure that the people that are behind the program are the ones that are going to really drive it.
No, thank you. I'll definitely take that on board. Yeah, it's interesting. I think like even in a world of technology, people are still the center of how we make the fairest change possible.
100%.
So I guess the next question is around AI. And I know how passionate you are about AI. So tell us, like, what is your biggest fear or hope for the future with this technology? Yeah,
so I'll start with the biggest fear. And I think it's what everybody feels, that AI is going to take our jobs. And I mean, I was listening to Sam Altman, the OpenAI CEO, when he was talking about AGI, which is superhuman intelligence. I guess the definition of that, OpenAI's definition, is highly autonomous systems that can replicate what humans can do to the highest skill level, something like that. Basically saying that it's AI that can do what humans do. That's literally what superintelligence is. And so when you think about when that comes into existence, well then where's the space for humans is a real big question. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, he said, it's going to be like ChatGPT with AGI. When ChatGPT was released, people like freaked out. 2 weeks later, everybody was fine. He said the same thing's going to happen with AGI. It's going to be released, and then 2 weeks later, everybody's going to be fine. I think, that's a bit of a stretch.
Bit of an understatement.
Yeah, like, you get me? I think, you get me? When the AGI is actually here and it can replicate what people are doing, bro, I think kind of all... I think we're all a little bit fucked in there, a little bit. But I guess, and the hope comes into it, is that a bad thing that AGI is going to take up cleaning, like working, like lower class entry level roles and roles that people like. If you were to ask someone in their job, are you doing what you're doing because you love it or because it's paying you? Yeah. I would say people are saying they do it because it's what pays them. Yeah. Like it's what pays their bills. I don't think somebody, even in these high corporate professions, I don't think somebody grew up wanting to be a consultant. I don't think that's what really makes their heart tick and drives their passion and purpose in this life. And I guess if AI can fulfill those roles, then we can focus on our passions. Like for me, I really love reading about philosophy and history. A dream day in my life, if I'm to picture it, what would it be? Probably reading philosophy, reading history, then going to the gym.
Yeah.
Like that would be a really good day, and I think that's what AGI is going to leave space for, is people to pursue their passions. And I know you think like people from working class communities may not have enough food and stuff. I think stuff like universal basic income, when that comes, I think food insecurity and that stuff will be an issue of the past, I personally think. Yeah. And I think people will have the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Yeah. All of the needs are going to be met. And so it's going to come to purpose, enlightenment, what makes passions, all these things. And I think that's what AGI is going to leave room for. Do I think that, the world is going to be do I think money is going to be a big thing in the future? Probably not. I don't think power is going to be dictated by money. I think it's going to be dictated by technology, and the user has the power of those technologies. So in summary, fear is that AI is going to take our jobs, and hope is that AI is going to help us follow our passions and purposes, really find our purpose.
Do you guys think it will get worse before that that nice equitable future that you're talking about? It will get really bad before it gets to what you're saying?
I think so. A lot of what you describe, I think, is the intention of researchers or scientists or people in the space, right? Your ethicists, your philosophers. Yeah. But when you think about it, government's the one who has to make the changes. Universal basic income being a simple one, right? If government doesn't install universal basic income, do the policy work behind it, then what does that mean for, like, we're not going to have it because, like, we have almost a centrally managed system with government. So, like, while I would agree, like, if Labour were to win the next election and you'd have, like, I don't even know, democratic government in the US, I would say that there's a higher likelihood. But I think the likelihood of, let's say reform were to win, one of reform's number one sort of push points is around reducing the ability for people to claim. So reducing people's ability to claim UC, right? Or universal credit for anyone that's not based in the UK. So if that happens, universal basic income becomes harder. And it's that narrative people have in their heads, which is, if you don't work hard, that's the reason you're unemployed. That what I'm saying is the technology is there, the intention is there, but the public's culture and globally the culture is like, I want a job. I don't want a universal basic income payment. So they're not going to vote for a universal basic income payment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's where my concern is. It's like over 20 years, 30 years, I think that's possible. But things have to get so bad that those things become possible. Because unless we have communism or socialism like what we have in China, like I think it's very unlikely that we will vote for a system like that. When I say we, I mean the British public, if that makes sense.
I could definitely see your point. And I definitely agree with parts of it. The UC point, like PIP, which is personal independence payment, which is a disability payment that we give to disabled people within the UK. I was reading a statistic. I think it's like 60 or 70% of claimants after COVID were mental health claims.
Yeah.
And so people, especially within the Reform Party, they're not a big fan of mental health and they think it's a baseless claim. So that's like one crux of the issue, where they think that the people claiming the benefits are not even entitled to it.
Yeah.
I think where universal basic income differs is for people who can't find a job. Like they like there are not jobs available, and it doesn't take a genius to look at the world and identify whether jobs are available or not. And it will disproportionately affect reform voters because they are people who majority make up the white working class.
Yeah.
And those jobs are going to be the first ones that are going to be automated. So I would say they're going to be personally affected by it. And secondly, it's not going to be hard for them to look at the people who can't find jobs because there's no jobs available for them to give the universal basic income. But I think like technology does monopolize power. And it may come like CEO of Anthropic, Dario, he said, what happens to countries like China when the enforcers are no longer human, but robots?
Yes.
So like and that's a very scary thought. And then you have OpenAI's countries for future initiatives that say we're trying to spread democratic principles, but then establish a data center in the UAE, which is not a democratic country.
Yeah,
it's like
I feel like there's 4 stages to the AI development, right? You've got the development of the model, you've got the deployment, and then you've got the diffusion. And then before you got the development, you have almost like, you know, the data sets and stuff that go into it. So like when models are deployed, they haven't started fully diffusing yet. So like say ChatGPT.
When you say diffusing, what do you mean?
So diffusing means going through the economy.
Oh,
so
okay.
Say your average company doesn't use, your average SME doesn't use AI to its fullest capability. Like you haven't got chefs in restaurants going on ChatGPT saying, what ingredients do I have? What can I make? Right? And that diffusion is the issue, because diffusion, generally speaking with technology, is very unequal. So like, let's think about something simple like the internet or even social media, right? Like social media started, a smaller group of people use it, and then over time it became wider and wider and wider. But by the time everyone's using it, the opportunities are much smaller than when less people are using it, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? So when we think about this with robotics and AI, it's like we're going to live in a time where people who use it now will make outsized economic gains. And then the people who don't use it will either, like, remember, they can go in multiple directions. Like you can go in, people could go in the route of banning it, right? A lot of people in government say it's not a given that AI will become mainstream in the UK or in Europe, because it could get mandated against, and regulation could come in because people are just, they don't want it to take their jobs, right? But then on the flip side, you could get like a lack of understanding that then leads for people to use AI in a way that's counterintuitive to the future we want. So say, for example, like right now, since Trump's election, Trump has said AI can't be diverse, equitable, inclusive. He said AI can be used for defense, right?
Yeah.
That got peeled back from every big tech company who had it from when they started working on AI. So if you think like, the way I frame it is almost like government have this one role, people have the diffusion role. It's like Breakthrough plays a role in the diffusion, right? Like we want working class communities to access this technology and to use it as quickly as they can to empower themselves. But the issue is that you can't create that at scale, if that makes sense. Because like, say there's like religious fanaticism, for example, where people genuinely believe AI is a negative thing, that it's like, I've seen bits and pieces on this online, but like certain religious leaders believe that it's a negative element. It's like those communities won't use it. What happens to them? And it's like where like the robotics element is another quite big piece of this, because what does the world look like when robots make robots, and countries like China are able to control their populations with robotics? But what happens to warfare? All of these types of questions. But like the average citizen is the one who needs to be informed, and sadly they're the least informed in this discussion, if that makes sense. So it's hard for people to make informed decisions at scale.
Just to, I guess, a question to wrap up. Whenever I speak to people about AI and this narrative, right, they'll take it as fear mongering. They're like, Pratik, I don't want to hear about it. I'm already struggling to keep my head above water in life right now. And you're telling me that everything's going to be fucked in 5 years. Like, what is your advice to them to embrace that, to turn that fear into something, not a fight, but something where they can actually think, okay, I'm going to empower myself. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's new technology that's going to change the way we live, work, socialize, interact with each other. And due to fear, people are shying away from it. What advice can you give to those people? Because unfortunately, those communities of people are the ones who get left behind when technologies like this happen. And it can be to both of you.
Do you want to go first or do you want me? So, like, with the rise of cost of living, I think so many people are in this position. And I wasn't in this position not so long ago. I mean, I can completely honestly resonate with that, like with what you're saying about keeping your head above water. Like, I grew up in a childhood where we always had bailiffs at the door. Mum was picking, are we paying electricity this month or heating? You know, like I really grew up in an environment where bills and it was like suffocating me. You know, like money was a real issue. The thing that I'll say to that is the person that's saying that to me, that shows that AI needs you in this conversation, because AI research and AI development is not being catered towards those people. And the first thing I'd say is know that your voice is powerful and it can have real impact. And companies are actually screaming out for these perspectives. They really want people who are on the front line, who grew up in marginalized communities and working class communities. And then secondly, with this fear and uncertainty, this is from the AI ethics course from Breakthrough, which I again, another big course that I recommend. But so on the course it says, to combat fear, you need curiosity, because fear rises from the unknown and curiosity cures the unknown. And I think that is such an important and impactful statement, is that the reason that we have this fear about AI is because we don't know what's going to happen. Like, what's it going to do to us? We don't really know. And anybody that claims to know doesn't know anyway. So we're all in the same boat. I think curiosity is going to be the cure to this, where just like do some light reading about AI, join some subreddits, join some Substacks. Breakthrough got their new Substack, join that. You join some subreddits on it, watch a few podcasts. Lex Friedman are good. Read, just get into the conversation a little bit about AI, because then it's like a rabbit hole. Once you get in there, it just becomes like a whole cesspool of AI, and it just becomes mad. So that's what I'd really, really recommend to people, is just start getting involved, with like subreddits and books and Substacks about AI.
And when he says mad, he means in a good way, where you understand the art of the possible, of how it can help your life, be a thought partner rather than, oh my God, what's going on? And Sobanan, we'd love to hear your answer. It would be great if you could talk straight into that. No? Okay, go on.
So I'd say humans are generally motivated by three things, right? We're incentivized financially, we're incentivized by status or power, and then we're almost incentivized by a moral or ethical responsibility. And that's usually to the people around us, like loved ones or our community. I think when we talk about financially, AI dwarfs like the space race. It dwarfs a lot of human endeavors of the past. So if you want to build yourself up financially, the average salary for engineers at Anthropic, for example, sit around 280,000 a year. But alongside that, look at it socially, like socially and power-wise, Putin says this best: whatever country comes up with AGI will control the world. They will have dominion over the species. Like the human species will be answerable to that individual or that nation. So make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And then finally, the moral responsibility piece. Once you know this knowledge, once you use it day in, day out, you see the power at your fingertips. Like imagine having Socrates, Aristotle, Plato on speed dial on your computer every single day. And you need to share that with your mum, your dad, your loved ones. And that's going to be the number one way we democratize this. People need to understand that the digital economy is far larger than any national economy, and it's much easier to make money online or with AI than it is to do that in a job in hospitality or working as a lawyer or an accountant. So those three motivations should be enough. But yeah, like Alfie said, pique that curiosity, because once you go down this rabbit hole, I promise you're not going to want to get out.
That's what they say.
Well, thank you. That was another episode. As people say, like, subscribe, as Alfie said, join our Substack. And if you love conversations like this, stay tuned because there's many, many more to come. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.